Greetings, everybody. It's been a while since I've been here. For those of you who are new, my name is Rebecca, and this is my friend Fezziwig. And he's here to help me today talk to you about the witch and her cat. We talk about the association between witches and cats all the time. And some of it, much of it, most of it for a lot of people is based on folklore. But there's a good basis for that. And I was, like everyone else, spending a lot of time on Facebook and social media recently. And so many people who are at home, nothing to do, are sharing pictures, more and more pictures of their pets. And I noticed that most of my friends who are witches on Facebook are either sharing pictures of their own cats or they are sharing pictures of cats, even if they don't have cats of their own. And I wondered about that. I wanted to think about that a little bit and see what kind of reasoning I could get behind that. Is there really a connection between people, between witches and cats? Okay. I'm going to let Fezziwig go for right now because he's going to sleep on my table where I want to put my book. I want to look in my book of shadows. So I'm going to let him go. He's one of, I'm going to give him to my husband who is here. I take him away. Thank you. He's one of 5 of my cats. I have 5 cats right now. There's another one that looks just like him. He's a twin. His twin is Twitchit. And they're very connected to each other. They're also very connected to me. Now, I don't consider them to necessarily be familiars. I maybe had 1 cat or 2 in my lifetime that I might have considered to be familiars. But it's not because I don't have an association, a close association with my cats. It's because I have an extra close association with most cats. And I have since I was a very young girl. I have dogs as well. You know I have dogs if you're my friend on Facebook, or even here on my channel. Sometimes you get a glimpse of one of my golden retrievers. I have 2 right now, golden retrievers. And I also have chickens, which I consider to be my pets. They're part of my family, which I'm very fond of. I have a relationship of sorts with my chickens. I also have a relationship with all animals. So I'm very attuned with animals. But I've had a special connection with cats since I was a little girl. I remember, and not just kittens. I mean, all children seem to love kittens and puppies and things. But I remember trying to get cats to follow me home all the time as a young girl. I always was looking out for a cat and trying to see who I connected with what cat. And during the course of my lifetime, that's fine. During the course of my lifetime, okay, I raised many cats. As a little girl, I didn't have a cat as a pet. I had a great aunt who had a farm, and she had millions of cats, and I had some farms nearby that we used to go and try to collect the feral kittens in the barns and things like that. But I was never allowed to have a cat as a pet as a child. We had dogs, we even had birds, but we had a cat one time, and the cat gave kittens and gave birth to kittens in an inopportune place, and my mother was horrified, and so we never had them again. Now, as an adult, I have cats, and I've had many cats, but most of the cats that I have to tell you, found me. And that's really true of a lot of witches. Cats seek out witches for some reason. This is proof, more proof, that the bond is very real between witches and cats. I'm not exactly sure why. Cats are tuned into the spiritual world. Many believe that they can travel freely between this world and the spiritual world. And witches tend to be connected as well to the spiritual world in one way or another through either divination or using the energies around them, or some even connecting with spirits. So maybe there's that closeness that makes the connection stronger. I'm not exactly sure why, but all I do know is we are very connected to cats. And cats will find us. And that's what I really want to talk to you about today. I have I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about how we can use cats to help us with our magic. This was I was inspired to come up with this video also because I saw some people recently selling cat whiskers. I'm sort of getting ahead of myself because we're going to talk about cat whiskers today, but I just wanted to say right up front that one of the purposes for my video is to make sure that people realize that cats are not there for us to use. Cats are there sometimes to give us gifts, to help us with our magic, but every gift that a cat gives us is given voluntarily. We don't harvest things from cats. We don't take things from cats any more than we would take them from people. We use human hair. For instance, I use human hair in my magic. You'd see me do that. But I'm not going to harvest hair from somebody who doesn't want me to take their hair. And I'm certainly not going to harvest hair from a cat who doesn't want me to take it. A cat will leave its hair. But a cat, sometimes, if we have the hair, if we brush, if we care for our cats, just by taking care of our pets, we get things like cat hair, dog hair, rabbit hair, chicken feathers, whatever. We get those things. And if they're given to us freely, they're there, I believe, they're there for us to use. If they're not given to us, it's none of our business. We don't get to have them. That's just my opinion, but I want to make sure, because I know many people watch the beginning of a video and then they turn it off when they get the gist, and I want to make sure, I want to say this up front, that I want to say my number one intention is to keep cats safe in this video and to make sure that nobody takes advantage of a cat in the wrong way or hurts a cat in any way, or even, uses the cat to for their monetary gain. I think, especially for magic, I think that's really, I don't think that's good magic. Okay? So, I'm going to open, I have with me Book of Shadows, and I just want to look at some things about, talk to you about a few things about using cats in your magic. Okay? One of the things I thought about was, we love cats, and there are several goddesses, Egyptian goddesses, who have the likeliness of a cat or a lion. I'm thinking, of course, of Sekhmet, who is a woman with a head of a lion, or sometimes it's a cat, but most often a lion, who is a protection goddess, is a daughter of Ra, the Egyptian sun god. And I do not follow Egyptian deities as a rule, so I don't know a lot about them, but I do know that, and I know also that Bast, or sometimes referred to as Bastet, is another goddess, a lower goddess perhaps, Egyptian goddess, who is may be considered a separate goddess, a sister goddess to Sekhmet, or in some cases people think of her as another aspect of the same goddess, like a twin, them being twin goddesses, or an aspect like we see the triple goddess in many of the Celtic goddesses. We are triple goddesses and Roman goddesses. But Sekhmet might be a dual goddess with Bast. I'm not sure. You can correct me, but it's not that important. I don't think it's important to what we're talking about today, because where Sekhmet, for most people, their understanding of Sekhmet is she is there for protection. Bast is there as protection as well, but also as a protection, specifically protection for cats. And that's what I was going to talk to you about today. One little thing that I thought we like to do in our house, because when I was thinking about the people, one of the things we have about cats is cats are supposed to be a protection in itself in our homes. People that have, many witches who have cats, think about the cat as a protector of their home, particularly from spirits that might be wish to cause them harm, or if anything, because the way cats are so attuned to things around them and their to their environment, that they could warn us of impending danger. Those of us who live in California, if any of you live in California, we get warnings before we get an earthquake by our pets, and not just dogs, we get dogs, but cats very often. They're so in tune to the surroundings that they will feel the slightest some kind of a sign coming before an earthquake, and they will go under a bed, or they will, they'll do something. And I've seen that happen many times. Like the cat all of a sudden is in the bed, flies under the bed for some reason, wakes me up, or goes under the covers, wakes me up in some way, right before we get an earthquake. So that's kind of interesting. So a lot of people have the cats, they get them as protection. But people who are connected with cats but don't have protection, you can still have the protection of a goddess, such as Bast, in your home, or you can communicate with or pay homage to a goddess in your home through a special protection jar. I like to call it protection jar. You know, I'm very famous. I'm very, I'm very happy with. I have jars and bottles all over my yard and all over in my house. I'm very. That's a popular magical tool for me. So it makes sense for me to make a jar for my cats. But I thought even if you don't have cats of your own, you could make a jar to honor Sekhmet and to ask the energies of the cat of Sekhmet to come into your home and protect you in the way that our cats might protect us. Be that special guardian. So just a little simple project I was going to do, and what I did was I took it's just a jar. This is a jar. I think it had Trader Joe's curry sauce, which you love to eat, but I love these jars. They're really nice jars to use. They're a nice size. And I just took an image off the internet and applied it to my jar, which I do for a lot of my jars. And I'm going to put some things in this jar, and I'm going to leave it out. I'm not going to bury it in my yard or hide it in the corner for cover, which I do for my other jars and bottles. I'm going to leave it out. And I got this idea from, I can't think of her name. I think it's called Wicca Moon. I think it's called Wicca Moon. She is a witch who makes videos. She lives in England somewhere. And she uses this kind of a jar, I think. And I thought we would do that today, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to make it. I'm going to get a little... anyway, it's not going to be buried. It's going to be used. It's going to be used... we're going to fill it with herbs. I'm going to fill it with some herbs that are known to have magical properties in them associated with cats. And I'm going to dress it with stones that have magical properties specifically chosen for cats. And then I'm going to leave it somewhere in my home, probably on an altar. Instead of hiding it away, I'm going to leave it open and have it set in on the lid. Leave it on an altar somewhere, leave it set. But since I'm going to leave it open, before I show you how I'm going to make it, very simply, but I want to tell you about what I'm going to put in it, because since it is open, we have to be very, very careful what we put in it. I put a lot of research into finding herbs that have the qualities that I was looking for, but that did not pose any threat of toxicity to my cats. Everything is a matter of opinion. Some things are a matter of science, some things are a matter of opinion as to how harmful herbs can be to pets. I go through this with my chickens all the time. Things I want to feed my chickens. People go, or can I grow this around my chickens, or they can eat it? What happens if they eat it? There's a school of thought that says the chickens won't eat it if it's going to be harmful to them. There's other school of thought that says just a tiny amount of them ingesting that could hurt them. So, you know, you have this balance all the time between things with animals that are going to pick up and eat things. We had a cat years ago. Our cats are indoor cats. We had a cat years ago who became, severely poisoned somehow by eating something. He ultimately died from it after a month of having to have all kinds of procedures and intravenous feedings and everything else. And he ingested something. We have no idea what. We assume it was some flower that came in. The children, two of my girls were in theater at the time, or performances, orchestra and theater, whatever. And I believe when this happened, and they were always getting bouquets, from people on the night of their performances or whatever. And it was just happened that thought that this cat had just nibbled on something that was in one of those bouquets, because we have a very safe home for animals. We don't use toxins of any kind in our gardening We're in our clean. We don't have toxic cleaners in the house. We're so careful about it, but yet this cat was able to find something. So sometimes it doesn't take much of an herb. Other cats can eat and eat and eat. I had a cat, our first cat when we were married, every Christmas ate the poinsettia that was given to us by a relative down to a stub. A stump. He ate leaves, he ate the whole thing, red, green, down to a, and he just ate it, and nothing ever happened to him. We didn't see anything happen to him, so we didn't know better. And later on, we found out, long after he was gone, you know, with other cats, that people consider poinsettias to be very toxic. It never bothered him, so I understand both sides of that. Sometimes it's a matter of degree, how much you eat at a time, or what kind of symptoms it gives them. Maybe they don't mind. So I just want you to exercise caution when you're selecting. If you're going to do something like this, when you select things, remember that if you're going to do this, in order to be effective, we want to leave it exposed to the air. We don't want to close this up and bury it. We want to put the herbs in here, like sort of like the intentional bundles that I make for my altar that I don't intend to burn. I just leave them there, and they cleanse all the time. They have the properties of cleansing, keeping my space cleansed all the time. Sort of like a citrine crystal wood. This is going to be there. So if a cat is not bothered by it, if a cat is not somebody who might eat it, whatever. But of course if you're going to leave it open, what about a dog? What if a dog got into it and ate it? What about if a child got into it? You need to consider these things. Please, at all times, be very careful. Okay? So maybe you want to put it in a place, if you're going to be gone for long periods of time, maybe you put it in a place where the animal nobody has access to it. Maybe in here, most of the time my room here, my altars are closed off. My pets are in here now. I have the door open and they have free access to me now, but normally they do not. Normally it's closed off, and they don't sleep in here, and they don't get to be here when I'm out of town or out of the house for any reason. So just exercise caution. That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. So some of the things that are okay to put in this jar, I just looked in some. I just want to tell you quickly. I'm not going to list them, but I want to say things that we that might be toxic, absolutely toxic, and I would not use at all, or something like mistletoe or yew, which are very toxic. Also considered to be quite toxic for cats is lavender oil. Lavender is somewhat toxic. They don't like it, so they usually leave it alone. But lavender oil, you don't want to put on your cat in any way. So I would steer clear of lavender oil. In the right kind of a dose, lavender oil can actually cause liver damage, and it might even cause deafness in cats. We're not sure. So things in large quantities that could prove to be toxic are things like marjoram, garlic, nutmeg, pennyroyal, which is a kind of mint, chamomile, bay laurel, yarrow, lemongrass, and tobacco. All those things we commonly use in our house. I don't think I would be putting in this jar, even though some of them might be appropriate. Okay to use. Some of the things that are okay to use and good to use, I'm going to be using today. Those are the things that I have. Mugwort. And I'll tell you why when I add it. Catnip is good, of course. Valerian is very good to use. It's often used as an offering, actually, to Bast. I don't have any valerian. I don't use it very often. I think it kind of stinks. It's a pretty stinky herb, I think. But cats love the smell of it. Sage, of course, and rose are some things that are really good to use. And I will explain the properties of those when I make my jar. Okay? So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to be using, and after that, I'm going to be making a little jewelry to wear on for the jar to use. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit at the end about a couple cat gifts. What I said, some things that cats give us freely that are really magical. If we use them the right way, they can be very magical. So I'm trying not to make this too long of a video, but I just want to give a heads up that that's what we're going to be talking about. So if you're interested in those things, stay tuned. Okay. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the jar, and I'm going to try to get a little close up of the jar. If I can. I'm going to bring another camera. Okay, I gave you a little close-up. I want to give you a little close-up so you can see. I have a few things I want to show you. But here's a close-up of my jar. You can see I just took an image of the internet and applied it to the front of this jar. I have a picture here. I don't know if you can see that very clearly or not, but the image that I use contains images of both Sekhmet, right here, and Bast, right here. Because I really like the idea of them being sister goddesses, or two dual goddesses, whatever you want to call them, or two aspects of one god. Because the energy, the idea of a, because I understand Bast, the goddess Bast, had kept cats in her temple, in her, wherever she lived, I'm not sure. So I really like that idea. I like the idea of them, whether you have cats or not, or you don't have cats, that this kind of an offering is really cool. And I like this, again, I like this jar because it has this black lid. And what I intend to do it is leave the lid off, but I like it can be seated. You can sit there, sit on the lid. So it will be like that on the altar, which will look kind of cool. Okay. Now in mine, I'm going to use, of course, one thing that I use in everything is sage. I use sage if I'm going to use, and of course this is just sage. I constantly am gathering from my own sage bush. This is California white sage. It's very, very good, of course, a protection herb, and everybody loves it as a protection herb. But also, it's really good as a it's believed to bring a long and healthy life to those who use it. This is something that since the Middle Ages, I think 10th century or something like that, they have evidence of people using it for protection and as for health, long life and health. Okay, my dog is shaking the table. Louie. So I'm going to put a goodly amount in the bottom of the sage because it's plentiful, and I'm going to get a goodly amount of herbs in here. I don't want to, but you can do it in any amount. There's no magical amount. We're looking for a combination. We're looking for the combination. So I have about, you can see I have about that much in the bottom. You could crush it up, but I don't see any reason to crush it up. And oh my goodness, it smells so good. It smells really good in here. Okay, so there's that. And then I'm going to also use catnip, of course. My cats go crazy for catnip. Catnip is really good because it helps eliminate restlessness in cats, and also brings luck. It's a good luck herb, and my cats love it. I have, as I told you, I have 5 cats, so we can get into cat issues sometimes. So this is a really good thing to have in anything I use to keep cat issues at bay, any kind of problems. Okay, so I just put about that much in. I'm kind of burying the catnip a little bit in the jar because I don't want cats, some of my cats really want to eat it. I don't want them to eat it. Okay, and then I'm going to use mugwort. Mugwort is something that is really good. It casts out any kind of illness. It casts out any kind of disease. It's a protection herb as well, but it's really good for keeping your cats healthy, and it will not hurt a cat. But I have cats I have several, like Fezziwig and his brother Twitchit, and I have another male cat he's a American short hair. He's also black. Coincidence. Oh, I got it everywhere. They all suffer from urinary tract problems. They all are on prescription diet because they get stones easily in their bladder, and we want to keep them healthy. Fezziwig particularly has trouble with reoccurring bladder infection, urinary tract infection. So we want to try to keep them as healthy as we can. And then finally, what I want to put in, like I said, rose would have been really good. I don't have any rose, but what I would have wanted to put in, I don't have any valerian, but what I want to put in is rose. because rose was considered to be a sacred flower in Egypt. It was found in burial tombs as an offering to the goddess Isis. And I just realized I'm doing so much about Egyptian goddesses today, which I really have no connection with Egyptian goddesses as a rule. So, you have to be open to surprises. I'm tearing them off of here, which I'm kind of making a mess, and I will clean this up when I put the camera away. But I want the rose petals is what I want. And oh, I don't know if you've ever dried roses. I have this practice that every time that I get a rose, cut from rose or whatever, I just cut the heads off. As you can see, I cut the heads off. And then I just put them in a bowl. I have this bowl. That I just leave out, and as they dry, they perfume the air. They smell lovely, and they dry naturally, and then they're available for me to use in any way I want. I can break them up. I use them in incense blends, or I just leave them in bowls until I go to use them. Okay, so anyway, I have this, and you can shake it if you want, but there's no reason really we have to shake it. But anyway, that's it. That's my whole jar. And so then I want to do something to make it pretty. I want to make it kind of pretty. So I'm going to, I made it a bracelet of healing crystals. And some of the things that we could use on here depend on what kind of conditions your cats have, if you're going to make this for your cat. And some stones that you can use for your cats are pearls, if your cats are lonely or depressed, which yes, they do get lonely and depressed, if they're the only cat, particularly. I have one sort of depressed cat and lonely because she's lonely because she doesn't really get along with the others. They don't get along with her, so she gets lonely at times. But pearls is a good thing to use for that. Moonstone is good as a rejuvenating stone. It helps them recover if they have been ill, or if they've been weak or tired or lost or whatever, and you recover them, and they just need to recover their strength or whatever. That's Moonstone is really great. Onyx is good. Black onyx is really good for any kind of infections. Or black agate is good for bonding. If you have a new cat, it's really good to use black agate if you're trying to bond with a new cat. Citrine is really good for healing of all kinds. It's self-healing, and it's good to stimulate that self-healing within cats. Remember, citrine is a crystal that cleanses itself. Well, it can help the cat heal itself by energizing the life forces within the cat to heal anything that has. Cats have magical, if you've ever had a cat that was injured, they get an injury, like a superficial injury, like a scratch or cut. There's always a danger. It heals from the outside first, and then the inside is still not as, when we have a cat, it usually heals from the inside out, but a cat, it glosses over, it hardens on the outside, and then it is still injured on the inside, so they get abscesses very, very quickly and easily when they get hurt. So, but they have something that helps them to heal quickly in that way. Anyway, I don't have those things, but what I have is some other things that could be used. And what I did is I just made mine a simple necklace out of stones that I have on hand. And here I use a combination of amethyst, which is really good. It helps to relax or calm down the feline. I get these 5 cats who get, you know what I mean when I say they get a wild hair at 3 o'clock in the morning. They just go ripping across the bed. This keeps them calm and helps them from having altercations with each other a little bit. Just helps keep the calm. I'm using all kinds of things in my atmosphere just to keep them a little bit calm. I use some special aromatherapy for them also that I have going all the time to just try to keep things even and calm. So I like this idea. This amethyst kind of works in conjunction with that. I also have turquoise on here. Turquoise is good stone it's good for rehabilitating rescue cats and making them feel safe and grounded. And I have one, my cats are all kind of rescue cats, And one of my cats was feral, and she's not feral anymore, but she's never really, she's suspicious. You know, she's suspicious of people. She loves us and very much, but she doesn't have the traits of a normal cat. She doesn't, you know, want to snuggle with us or anything. She wants to be close against us when we sleep, but she doesn't want to be petted or picked up or anything like that. So, and also she's very, very attached to one of my senior cats who is kind of getting confused. And so I think this turquoise will help him too with that, help him sort of keep him safe, feeling safe. I think he gets a little anxious. He wanders the house sometimes crying, and he's not sure where he is sometimes. He was a rescue cat that it was very much a pet. And now that he's getting older, he seems to be reverting to some of this fear that he had when he was a younger cat, I think. And then, of course, I have black obsidian on here. I just have it because I use black obsidian to absorb anything negative. It's a very strong protection. That's my go-to protections now. And what I will do is when I put this on the altar, when I put it on an altar, I will just adorn it with a necklace, and that's the way it will sit. So it will sit like this, like that. And all the goodness will be there. Okay? All right. Okay, I just want to touch on finally some of the gifts. If you have cats, a few of the gifts that a cat gives you freely that are very handy to use in your magic. And again, I'm going to emphasize again, the things that I'm going to talk about should come to you naturally. They should not be harvested or taken from the cat in any way. But the first thing that I want to talk to you about is something that I consider to be one of the most magical items in my cupboard. And I have them in here in this bottle, this little bottle. And that is cat whiskers. Cat whiskers are very, I could take them out. I could take them out and show. Here's one that is so, I don't even think you can see it. It's so small. Some of them are very short. And some are white. And some are black. That one's black. Can't even see it against wonder if you can see it against this paper. There you can. You can see it against the paper. It's black. Some are kind of short. Whoops. Some are terrifically short. And some are very long. And if you saw, oh my goodness. But all of these, whoops. My fingers are kind of fat. They're fatter than a hair. They're not as thin as a hair. This one is so long. I don't even know if you can see how curly it is. That when I want to put it in this jar, I have to really kind of bend it to get it into the jar because it's just too long for the jar. But I don't want to cut it because you never want to cut it. Now the end of a cat's whisker has these little sensory organs on the very end, and that tells a cat a lot of things. It gives the cats a lot of messages as to their surroundings. You know how much everybody knows, like it tells them how much. I'm just trying to push that down in. There we go. A lot of messages as to how much room they have if they want to go through a hole or whatever. But it also gives them other information. They have whiskers again on the back of their front legs. They have them all over their face. Some go up and some go out and some go down. But they give them all kind of information, and they also are expressions. They can make them, if they're turned back against their face, sometimes it means that they're scared or worried or whatever. Or if they're, whatever, if they're out front, they're curious. The ones on their legs apparently give them clues when they're supposed to make the killing bite when they catch prey. So it's a way of being sensitive to the world around them. So we can use these for many, many reasons. Again, I keep them in this jar when I get them, I collect them naturally. And this is what I said. I want to point this out. This is why I say don't be very wary if you see anybody selling these, because I want to tell you, I have 5 cats. I have had for the most of my adult life. At any given time, I have 6. That's sort of my limit in this house, 6. I've had 13 when we had included kittens, but when we took in kittens like to rescue. But 6 is, I've had 6 for many, many long years. I had 6 until not too terribly long ago. I have 5 now. But I haven't found a lot of whiskers. Whiskers are not very common to find. People have trouble finding them. First of all, they're hard to see, but second of all, they have to fall out, and they don't fall out every day. You know, it's not that common for a cat to lose their whiskers. From time to time, yes, they lose them, but it doesn't happen every day. So the point is, when you see them for sale, how is somebody having enough of them to sell? Is my question. Now, if you don't have a cat, but you have a friend who has a cat, you might ask that friend, to keep an eye out for things that can be taken from the cat if you want to use them magically. If your friend would be okay with that. Some people would not be, but if they would be, you know, I would suggest you get them that way. But I suggest you do not try to buy them, because I think that's too tempting. When money is involved, it's too tempting for people to do things that are not morally good. Okay. But anyway, cat whiskers. They're good to boost spells. I use them for that. They're good. A lot of witches say, whisper to a cat whisker, which you would like to have, and then throw it into a flame of a gold candle to get your wish to come true. They're good for good luck spells. You can carry them around in a bag, or you can carry around in a pretty jar like this, or keep them around you, or just keeping them around you. They can protect you at nighttime. They might help you with astral journeys, because, again, remember I said that it was believed that a cat can walk between the worlds, and they feel the space, and they can perceive dangers or anything ahead of time. So they can help keep you safe when you're on if you do any astral journeys at night. A lot of people do. They can help you sense your psychic powers. They can increase your psychic powers. They're good for road opening spells, to remove obstacles in front of you. Also, they're great for invisibility spells. If you want to hide yourself from enemies, or from anybody you feel that is giving you, you might be under a psychic attack or whatever, hide a black whisker near your bed. A black whisker is good for that. But it's not necessarily true. I don't think the black cats give black and white cats give white, because I have 1 white cat, 3 black cats, and 1 gray cat. And mostly I get white whiskers. Most of the whiskers I find are white, so I'm not exactly sure about that. Okay, but anyway, they're great. They're great to have if you have an opportunity to get them. I recommend it. Something that's very easy to find are cat claws, and I use cat claws all the time. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to show you. This is for people who do not declaw their cats. We find these everywhere. We find these everywhere because cats constantly I better move them a little bit, are shedding this little sheath, this covering on their claw. I'm not sure of the biology of it, but that's what's happening. And so we find these stuck in fabric, or stuck in cushions, or just laying around, or on the floor, or wherever they do. Sometimes they use it, and these are really good for and I just keep a little jar, and as I find these things, I just put them in the little jar. And I use these a lot. I use these, of course, in healing spells. Any healing spell that is used for my cats. On my altar where I do healing spells for my pets, I always put a claw in the flame of the candle. Always, 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 always. But I want to say, what makes them magical? I don't know. But one thing is, a cat always has the claws, and you don't always see them. Normally they're retracted, and they pull them out when they need them out. And they pull them out when they need to protect themselves, to scratch or whatever. They pull them out when they want to hold on. Think about what a cat uses its claws for, and they're good for magic of any of those things. Obviously for protection. You can add it to a candle. You can add it to the candle itself when you're making candle, which would be perfect if you're going to do a hex or a curse, some kind of a curse spell, because not only it gives you the protection, the claw gives you protection, but it also might give that extra scratch if you're interested. It helps you get a grip. Think of what a cat claw does. It helps you get a grip on things, helps you gain control over some aspect of your life, to steady your balance. When a cat jumps up on the back of something, they dig their claws in to hold themselves steady. Or they're just useful for times when you need to hang in there. Okay? Right? Also, a cat's fur can be used magically. A cat's hair. And again, we're not going to pull the hair out of a cat. Anywhere that if you have a cat, when you collect the hair, when you go to vacuum it up or sweep it up, you can collect it that way. But also, if you're taking good care of your cat and brushing that cat frequently, you can take the cat hair from the brush and use that hair, collect that, and put it in a jar, just like we put the claw or the whiskers in a jar for times when you need it. Keep it in your witch's cupboard. We use the cat hair, the cat fur. It's a good amplifier of spells. A lot of times, people will use it to, anytime you want to have the quality of think about a cat's nature. If you want to be, quiet or secretive, or if you want to be agile, or if you want to be, or graceful, or you want to be secretive in some way. Think about the qualities, and when you're making your spell, and thinking, what can I use for this? If a cat hair will work in, just use it. If a cat hair makes sense, I will use it. As long as it makes sense to you, use it for what your intention is. Some people think that a white hair is good. A white hair from a cat is good to help keep you healthy. If you want to do a health spell. Now, I do have a white cat, pure white, and I want to say, she gets hair everywhere. I have hair everywhere in my house from her. She sheds more than anybody I know, any of my cat people, even though she's a short hair cat. But I don't consider her cat hair would bring me health. She's kind of a bitch. As far as the cat goes, she's kind of a bitch cat. She like I said, she doesn't get along with a lot of people. She's one of those cats. She loves you. She's very affectionate. She wants to, be up against you and be on your lap, and she wants you to hold her. And she wants you to pet her, and she'll headbutt you, and you give her pats. But she's one of those cats. You pet her 3 times, you pet her 4 times. Sometimes it doesn't. You don't never know when. You pet her 1 too many times, and she's going to take off your head. She will bite, or she will scratch, she'll spit. She scares the death out of my friends because she does it. She's so affectionate, and they just one too many pets. You never know how many that is. She has trouble getting along with other cats. And she's not real attentive to her own grooming. So I don't consider her, she needs to be groomed. She sometimes is very attentive, but other times she's not. And so I don't consider her to be something that would provide me with health. I think I would use her hair and some other things, but perhaps not in that. So again, you have to use your own judgment. You have to decide what works for you. Also, a lot of people say that black cats, it's good to focus your spell with the black cat hair. Also, it increases luck. Black cats are supposed to be lucky for witches. I don't know. I have 3. I didn't choose black. I kind of chose one. My one that was feral. I chose him because he was living in the streets and he needed protection. The black cats, people are not so nice to black cats, but whatever comes to me, comes to me. I've been known to have nothing but tabbies. I've been known to have all kinds. I've had yellow cats, which I love. I've had long hair white cats. I've had all kinds. Right now I have, like I said, my Mike Fezziwig and his brother Twitchett, the twins. They're my youngest cats. They're my most affectionate cats right now. They're my healthiest cats, except for their urinary problems. But they're young and healthy for the most part, and I do consider them kind of lucky. I think their hair, I might add some of their hair to this jar that I made. I think a good use for cat hair would be, if you're going to make one of these cat protection jars, the cat hair in here would be very good. Whether you're trying to protect your own cats or whether you're trying to call the energy of a Sekhmet into your home, you could, again, if you had cat hair from a friend, if you wanted to, if you didn't have your own cat, you could get cat hair from a friend and put that in here. It's not necessary, but I just think I would think that would be a nice thing to add to this jar. Okay? So anyway, I didn't mean for this to be a big long video. I hope it wasn't. But I thought it was interesting. I thought it was timely. I wanted to make sure when I saw people selling cat whiskers, it kind of freaked me out a little bit. And I just thought it was a really lovely time to talk about cats because God knows I know cats. I've had a lifetime of cats. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all staying healthy and I hope you're all staying safe. And thanks for coming to my channel. Like always, I'm Rebecca. Welcome if you're here for the first time. I wish you all, old friends and new, blessings.